Hi everyone, this is Phil Travis, and this week's announcement is for Modern Germany, Week 3. This week we'll be reading from our textbook, the kitchen textbook, chapters 7 and 8. We have a quiz this week, and the quiz shouldn't be too hard. The reading's not too long, and it's just based on those two chapters. And also, watch my recorded lecture. Every week I have that lecture up there for you, so watch that lecture because I touch on a lot of the information in that lecture. I touch on the information in the textbook in that lecture. So be sure to watch that lecture. I noticed that quite a few of you watched the lecture from last week and then did the reading and, helped us to put together the, somewhat complex history, and that is Germany in the 1800s, which really, when you think about it, should lend some, credence to why constructing a German nation was such a major achievement for leaders like Otto von Bismarck in the latter 1800s. It's a very complex history. So we're reading chapter 7 and 8 from the kitchen book. Watch my lecture. We'll have a quiz on it. The quiz is not designed to be overwhelmingly difficult. I'll give you a 25 or 30-minute time limit. And if you do the reading and you watch the lecture and you have that book out there while you do the quiz, you should be okay. You shouldn't have anything to really worry about there. Just make sure you prepare for it. I recommend do that work at the beginning of the week. Get it done by Thursday if you can. Take the quiz Friday or Saturday or Sunday if you want. And that way you'll be as prepared as you can. As prepared as you can possibly be. The quiz is the only other major assignment this week. Just read those two chapters and take the quiz. Watch my recorded lecture. So let's get right to the factoid. Don't forget, of course, we are moving along in the class. It's going, it goes so fast when we have these classes, but it seems like the weeks just get quicker and quicker every year that I'm teaching. But we will be pretty soon getting towards the time where we need to start thinking about papers. We have a paper in this class, of course, and I expect everyone to submit a paper proposal for that. So as we move closer to that, we'll start to talk about what I expect on that paper proposal for those of you who have not taken a course from me already. Many of you have already taken classes with me, at least some of you have, and so you should probably have a pretty good understanding of what I expect, not only on the papers, but also the paper proposal. So that's coming up in a few weeks, and we will talk more about that as we get a little bit closer to it. But if you have any out-of-the-gate questions right now, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you've already looked at the information on the syllabus on the paper, if you have further questions that hasn't answered it, please be sure to reach out, and I will help you as best I can as we move closer to major assignments like that. But this week, just the quiz, do the reading. I think everything is looking great in the discussion forum. Everyone is doing a really great job. I'm really happy with the engagement and the conversations that we're having in the discussion forum. So, looks good. The factoid. Oh, right. The factoid is this. We're talking about, of course, the period in which Germany became unified as a nation, which, of course, occurs in 1871 following the Franco-Prussian War or during the Franco-Prussian War. As Otto von Bismarck, as we've been discussing, used a number of wars to sort of create common grievances amongst the German people. The Austro-Prussian War, the Danish-Prussian War, and then, of course, ultimately the Franco-Prussian War, which resulted in the defeat of Napoleon III at the Battle of Sedan. And that war, the Franco-Prussian War, is really the final conflict that leads to unification of Germany under the leadership of Otto von Bismarck. This is what we'll be reading about this week, the creation, really, of this powerful German state in Europe that for many European powers they feared would offset the balance of power. We'll also be talking about the emergence of that Germany as a sort of German empire and its role in international relations during the latter 1800s. We'll talk about some of the strategies that Otto von Bismarck tried to use to sort of cobble together the political alliances necessary to maintain this large German state during his time as leader, during his time as chancellor. Bismarck is sometimes referred to as the Iron Chancellor. Here's the factoid. When the Nazis rose to power in 1933. You know, the Nazis, of course, manipulated history significantly for their own ends in propaganda. And in that respect, the Nazis tried to construct this idea that they were the Third Reich, is what they called it, and they were somehow in direct connection to the history of Germany that went all the way back to the time of Charlemagne, who, of course, was crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD or CE. And so, you know, the Nazis tried to convey this sort of manipulative idea of history that somehow the Nazis, which were, of course, an aberration, they were not similar to Otto von Bismarck. They were not in any kind of a direct historical lineage to Otto von Bismarck either. But the Nazis tried to convey this idea that they were the Third Reich and that they were in direct connection to this long German history that involved two other Reichs. The First Reich being all the way back to Charlemagne, associated with the Holy Roman Empire. And, of course, the Second Reich, and this is the factoid, Nazi Germany suggested that the Second Reich represented the time of the German Empire under Otto von Bismarck. And so the factoid for this week is Otto von Bismarck, his time as Chancellor of Germany, that period of the German Empire leading up to World War I, was constructed through historical manipulation by the Nazis as being what they called the Second Reich. So the time of Otto von Bismarck leading the German Empire, and then ultimately, even up till after he was out of power, up till the First World War, was generally constructed by the Nazis as the so-called Second Reich. And that is the fact. All right, let's have a great week.